I would like the people that I know to learn more about money. I think most people in America would want to learn more about money. I think most people around the world would want to learn more about money. And unfortunately, we live in a world where nobody really talks about money. Everybody, goes about their day and goes about their life, but it's the one thing that we all use, and we all have to, understand. But not a lot of us actually understand it. And sometimes we think that we do, and then we make a mistake. And then we realize, oh, I didn't really understand it. And so I think if you want to take a look, I grew up in New England. That's a lobster. It looks like a crawfish, but it's not. It's a lobster. And I grew up in New England. My dad was a lobster fisherman. Anybody like lobster? Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. Usually my Filipino crowd, they like lobster, so that's good news. But I grew up in a real small town, and we didn't really know a lot about money. And subsequently, what happened, I don't want to spend a lot of time going over my personal story, but like a lot of people in America, my dad, he worked hard his whole life, and he passed away fairly young, and he died dead broke in the richest country in the world. And working hard your whole life and not having anything to show for it at the end, there's something wrong with that. Would you guys agree?
Yes.
So for me, I wondered, why was it that my mom and dad didn't have any money, right? And I found out later on from my mother. She said, well, we thought there'd be more time to save. I think a lot of people think that, right? They think, well, I have kids right now, or I'm just getting started, or my kids are going to college, or there's always some reason that you can't save. I always tell people, it's like when you want to have a baby. There's never a good time to have a baby. You just have to have a baby, right? And so for me, we had 3 of them, and it was never a good time. Every time my wife said she was pregnant, I was like, yay! In the back of my mind, I'm like, how are we going to pay for it, right? And so it's just like that. And then the other reason my mother said, she said nobody ever came to talk to her. Nobody came to our house to try to help us. So what that told me was there was a lot of people in America that were being left behind. A lot of people in the United States that were not educated about money. My family was a regular family, working mom, working dad. And how is it that they went their whole life in a seemingly educated country and not know anything about money? So when my dad passed away, I made a decision. I was going to change lives. I was going to do something different. At the time, I was in the Army, and so I had 8 years left of military service. And after I got out, I went to Iraq in 2003, 2004, and a little bit in 2005. And after I got out, I decided I was going to do something different. I was going to help people with money. I was going to educate people. I was going to make a difference so families weren't left behind like my mom and dad were left behind. And I thought it was going to be in real estate. So anybody ever been in real estate or is in real estate? A couple of you guys? Okay, great. So I owned a Century 21, and I started selling houses, and I loved it. I liked selling houses because I could see what was inside other people's homes, and it was always fun to go see all their stuff, right? You get ideas on how to decorate, and ooh, that's nice. Where'd you get that? So I liked all those things, and I sold a lot of houses, but I really wasn't loving what I was doing because I wasn't making an impact or a difference. The other thing about real estate real quick that kind of changed my mind was as I was building a business, every time I sold a house, I was out of business, and I had to go find another person to sell a house to, and I felt like I was kind of a hamster on a wheel, and I was just running, trying to sell a house, trying to sell a house, trying to sell a house. And there was a lady who had been selling houses for almost 40 years sitting across the desk from me, and I said, Miss Barber, how long have you been selling houses? She said, 40 years. And I thought, man, I hope I'm not selling houses when I'm 70 years old, And so I just decided I need to do something different. I needed to get back to what I promised my mom and promised my father, which was I was going to help people understand how money works. I was going to educate people. And so I stumbled into this business. I stumbled into this world, this financial services world, right? I didn't even know it existed. When I was in high school, you either could join the military or you could be like a teacher or a police officer, but we didn't have anybody come to career day besides those people, right? Remember career day? Did they even have those anymore in high school?
Yes.
Okay, but when we had career day, it was all the military people would show up, maybe the police officer, fire department. You already knew you could be a teacher because your teachers were there with you, and maybe a nurse. And I think most Filipinos know that because everybody who's Filipino is a nurse or a dentist, right? So at one point or another, you say, I was a nurse, then I became a dentist, and now I'm back to being a nurse. So, or a singer or a basketball player. I know Filipinos are big basketball players. First time I ever ate lumpia, oh my gosh, it was unbelievable. My buddy's mom was from the Philippines, and she said, I'm gonna make you something. And we went over and I ate it and I fell in love. And I fell in love right away, and I've never stopped eating it. That's why I look like I look, you know. And so when we have Filipino appointments, I have to be careful, because if I have 3 in a row, I have to eat at every house every time. By the end of the night, it's delicious, but by the end of the night, I can barely move. So going back to what I was saying, I stumbled in this business, and I fell in love with it. You know, I absolutely love what we do. I don't feel like I work a day in my life. I love helping people. I love making a difference. I love educating people. Now tonight, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what's going to happen tonight, or this afternoon, or whatever you want to call it. You're going to get a little bit of education. My goal is to show you kind of the way that things used to be with retirement and savings and investments, and maybe the market, right? And then where we see things changing, and where we see that you might be able to take advantage of that. It's impossible for us today, over a 45-minute presentation, for me to share with you, 10 or 15 different ideas. But I'm going to share with you one idea at the end of the presentation that I think that all of you may want to take a look at, that you all may want to explore. And whether that is exploration with us, and we help you do that, or you go and you take that idea and you go somewhere else and you work with somebody else, right? Are you older?
Yes.
Sorry. Yeah, you can turn. I'm a fat white guy. It's like, Filipinos are so skinny, because it's cold all the time. So I'm going to give you that idea that you can take back with you, and hopefully, like I said, you implement it, right? Because it's a wonderful financial tool at the end of the presentation that I'm going to go over. Now, we are a full service broker dealer. I am licensed as a Series 6, a Series 63. I have a life license, I have a health license, I have a real estate license. I just have license, I have a driver's license, I have all kinds of stuff. So I have a lot of licenses. But what I want to share with you is, our firm, we are like, has anybody ever been to a Foot Locker before? Or anybody, Or it's kind of like, now I could use Amazon, right? You go to Amazon online, what can you get at Amazon?
Everything.
Anything, right? Anything you want. And so Foot Locker is the same way. If you're in Foot Locker, if you walk in, you can get a basketball shoe, you can get a running shoe, you can get Nikes, you can get Reeboks, Adidas, Puma, you can get a black shoe, white shoe, purple shoe, size 9, size 10, doesn't matter. We're kind of like the financial services Foot Locker. We work with about 350 different companies. And so what we are is we're kind of a search engine. So if we were to work with you and you say, well, you know what, I've got some concerns or some questions, and here's a company that I want to find more information about. As long as it's a reputable company, like an A or A+ rated company, we probably work with them. So our goal is to go to the marketplace, find what it is you're looking for, and bring you a few options. Just like in Foot Locker, they don't have shoes. You don't buy a Foot Locker shoe. You buy a Nike or Reebok or Adidas, right? Now, the way that we work is the same way. We don't own anything, so to speak, so if we're going to show you something, it's going to be from multiple different companies, okay? So what we're going to do today, we're going to get started, and I want to share with you just kind of a few ideas. So this is what we can help you with. We have a 6-step process that we feel is really important to becoming financially independent. Now, raise your hand if you would want to become financially independent one day. Raise your hand. Some of you don't. Okay, come on, one more time. Come on. Who wants to be? There we go. Okay, good. I figure about everybody does, right? And by the way, I know the door's not locked, so if I'm crazy and you don't want to stay here, you can run out the back. No one's going to stop you, okay? So I just want you guys to have some fun, and I want you to learn a little bit tonight. So our goal is to help people in these 6 areas. Now listen, you may have one of these areas complete, all of them complete, none of them complete. I don't know. But this is just for you to think about yourself, okay? So cash flow is important. You've got to either manage your expenses or earn more income. What's more fun, by the way? Earning more or spending less? What's more fun? Earning more, right? Nobody wants to spend less. Everybody wants to earn more. But most people, if you don't own your own business and you work for somebody, which one do you control? If you work for somebody, do you control earning more or do you control spending less? Spending less. Because you can't walk into your boss and say, you know what, like kick the door and boom, say, you know what, I think no, go ahead, take time. You good? How you doing? What's your name?
Norman.
Norman?
Yes.
Oh man, I should have picked an easier name. That's good. I like it. How are you? What's your name?
My name is Grace.
Grace. See, that was easy, Norman. That was easy. So welcome. So you can't really walk into your boss and be like, hey, listen up. I've been working here for 5 years. I think you owe me an extra $1,000 a week. What would happen if you told that to your boss? See you later, right? So what we try to do is we try to educate you on managing some expenses, but maybe earning some additional income. We work with you on proper protection, both proper protection of your life, meaning if you die too soon, but also proper protection of your money. Did you realize that we have car insurance, we have house insurance, we have life insurance, but you realize that there is money insurance? People don't know that. It's been around for a long, long time, but people don't know that exists. The reason that people usually get into debt and have problems with credit cards is because they don't have an emergency fund, right? That's another thing we work on. Most people say, oh man, the car broke down or this happened and now I've got to go into debt. But sometimes in America, even if we have an emergency fund, we like to buy things, right? And I call it plastic fantastic. You know, people look really good, they drive really nice stuff, they have all this awesome stuff, but they couldn't put their hands on $10, right? It's because it's all from plastic, it's all credit cards. And so I know none of you guys do that. I know nobody's in debt, but I'm just saying if anybody was, that's something that we work on. We try to help you build wealth and then obviously preserve that wealth and live off of it at retirement. Here's a fact. I know for sure every one of us in this room is going to get old, right? Every one of us is going to get old. And there's going to come a day where you can't work anymore and you need to have saved enough money. And I always joke because in Asian households, if you're old, you just live with your kids, right? And so like you guys have your parents with you. I'm a white guy, like I said, so my kids are going to drop me off at the nurse and I'm like, oh, see you later, Dad. And I'm gone, right? But you guys, you're an awesome culture because you get your grandparents and parents live with you and take care of everybody. I'm in the nursing home. That's where I'm going. So there's an opportunity for us to build wealth and live off of it at retirement. So the first thing I want to talk to you guys about is the old way of retiring. This is what most people call the three-legged stool. I got a short video, it's about maybe a minute and a half, that's going to talk to you about the three-legged stool and what that was for people like our parents. How many of you guys had parents here in the States? Are most of you first generation? Who's first generation? Raise your hand. Okay, who's had parents here in the States? Okay, if you had parents here in the States that were, working in the 50s, 60s, 70s, this really applied to them. Maybe even the 80s, this still applied to them. Just kidding. Hold on. Technical difficulties. I'll do a voiceover.
Happy retirement. But with the funding of Medicare and...
Put it back. Here we go. All right, you got it, Ed? Yes. Round of applause for Ed. Thank you so much. One more time. Here we go.
There's a new reality when it comes to retirement planning. Single-digit yields in a low-growth economy, along with an ever-increasing life expectancy, have many wondering where their retirement funds will come from, and if there'll be enough. For a couple of generations of Americans, the traditional three-legged stool of Social Security, personal savings, and private pensions was the key to a happy retirement. But with the funding of Medicare and Social Security in question, pensions now shifted to benefits like 401ks, and savings more difficult to tuck away, this trusted model has collapsed. Today, new strategies for retirement are necessary. Self-sufficiency and an enjoyable retirement are still achievable with careful, smart planning. A trusted financial professional can help make all the difference. Contact one today.
All right, so what are the three parts of the three-legged stool? One was Social Security. Now listen, I like to call it social insecurity because I'll be honest with you, if you're under the age of 50, you're probably not going to see it. Right now, what's happening in Social Security is for the first time in 2019, we'll have more people drawing out than paying in. That's a problem. We have an issue there. What was the other one? There were two more. Pensions. Does anyone have a pension still? No, nobody's really getting a pension anymore. Companies have done away with those, for sure. And the other one was personal savings. How do you think we are as a country and a culture at personal savings? We don't. The statistics tell us that about less than 1% of people actually have $10,000 in a savings account or in an account that they can touch. That's a big deal, right? That's a big deal. So that's the old way of doing it, right? So here's a lot of times what happens to the sandwich generation, which is guys like Generation X and some of the people that are millennials. we tend to look at and say, well, I'll just wait. I'll wait because there's a lot going on right now in my life, and there's always going to be, like I said earlier, a better time to save. And when you're in your 20s, you think, well, I don't need to save right now because I'm only 20. Then when you get to 30, you say, well, we just got married, we just bought a house, and things are expensive, and I just got some, and then you get some kids, and you're in your 40s, you say, well, I'm raising kids, it's super expensive, right? Then you're in your 50s, you say, well, the kids are going to college, it's really expensive. Now you're in your 60s, and you say, I should start to save. Well, too late, right? You can't start saving in your 60s, and this video will show you why.
Most people can tell you how they plan to spend their retirement, but few can tell you how they plan to save for it. The reality is that the longer you wait to start, the more it will cost you. Let's say you want to have $1 million in the bank on your 65th birthday. Start working toward that goal when you're 25, and you only have to save $158.13 a month at 10% interest over the next 40 years. Put it off until you're 35, and you're looking at $442 a month. Wait another 10 years, and you'll have to save $1,317 a month. At 55, that goes all the way up to $4,882 a month. And heaven forbid you wake up on your 60th birthday to the reality that you still don't have a plan in place. You'll need $12,913 a month to save to reach your goal. So don't put off saving for your retirement any longer, because as quickly as life changes, the math doesn't.
So some of you guys are thinking, holy crap, I'm 45 or I'm 55, I don't have $13,000, how am I supposed to do that? Well, the math is the math, it's not going to change. So if you're a little bit older and you don't have anything saved up, you've got to do something different with your life. You've got to generate some additional income. That's where I told you before on the cash flow part that you need to start. It's not going to help you to manage your expenses really at that point. You need to earn additional income. You need to maybe start a business. You need to do something to earn additional income. If you're younger, good news. All you got to do, wealth can be arranged. Well, being wealthy, it can be arranged. All you have to do is put money aside consistently for a set period of time, right? How many of you guys ever heard of the Rule of 72? Has anyone ever heard of that? You have. Awesome. Where did you learn it, if you don't mind me asking? Primerica. Okay. Some other company taught it to you, right? All right. Anybody else? Okay. How about you? Where'd you learn it?
G.
Oh, G taught it to you. Well, that's good news. Hey, good job, G. I never heard of this. When I first saw this, it literally changed my life. I was 30 years old when I saw this, and I was flat broke. I had no money. I was fresh out of the Army, just got back from Iraq. We were in credit card debt. I didn't understand how this principle worked, but when I saw it, I was literally mesmerized. I went home that night and I started writing down everything that we had, all of our bills, all of our stuff, and I started figuring out a way to put this thing into work in my life. And so the Rule 72 works a little bit like this. By the way, that picture of Albert Einstein's on there because Einstein's the one that figured out this rule. So would you agree that Albert Einstein's a pretty smart person? Yes or no? Yeah, he's smarter than me, I can tell you that. So Albert Einstein figured out, he said, listen, the Rule 72 is an estimate of how long it takes for your money to double. Now we're going to be positive because a lot of people in this world today are negative people, right? And so I'm a positive guy. So we're not going to talk about the debt that you have doubling against you. We're going to talk about you saving money and it doubling for you, okay? So the way the Rule 72 works is you take an interest rate, say like 1%. 1 divided into 72, it tells you that every 72 years, your money will double. So for example, if you have $10,000, 72 years later, it's going to be 20 grand, right? So 72 years. How many of you guys have 72 years to wait for your money to double? No, right? I mean, unless your name is like Abraham, Moses, Isaac, Sariah, you're not going to get another 72 years. Some of you youngsters in there may, but I'm not going to get it, right? And so what we need to do is we need to get additional growth, okay? So what if we went to 4%? What if we went to just 4? What would it be? This is insane. That means the money doubles every 18 years. So that's not bad. We turned 10,000 into 168,000, right? But what if we went to 8%? 8% means the money doubles every 9 years. So 4% got us to about 160-something thousand dollars. Well, if you double 4 to 8, then you could probably double 160-something to around 320-something, right? But that's not the way the rule works. Remember, you divide 8 into 72, gives you more years for it to double. So look what happens. It turns into $2.5 million. That's a mathematical rule. That's not something I made up. That's the way that it is. Einstein figured this out. Actually, as a matter of fact, Einstein called it the eighth wonder of the world. When I understood that, right? It's Norman? Yes. So when I understood it, I started saying to myself, holy smokes, you know what's happening to me? I'm over here, 1% is like right here. I'm saving my money at a savings account at a bank at 0.1%, okay? And the bank's taking my money, because they don't have any money until we give it to them, right? They're taking my money and they're giving it to Emilio, and Emilio's going out and getting it on a credit card, because he likes to go to Victoria's Secret all the time, and that Victoria's Secret card is, like 29%. But a normal credit card, he is married, that's true, I should say. I usually pick somebody in the crowd, but I don't know Norman that well, so I don't want to scare him off. So, what's a typical credit card rate in America, though? Average, what do you think? 18, 20, 24. Let's just say 20. All right, 19.9. That's pretty reasonable, I would think. I mean, not reasonable, but you know what I mean. Like, people have that. If the bank is literally giving me 0.5% and then charging other people 20, they're making 19.5% interest. So you see how the bank, right, is treating us like suckers. When you open up a bank account, they actually give you a sucker. Remember that? They give you what the little thing, you say, here you go, and they actually call it a dum-dum. That's what the suckers call. Remember the dum-dum suckers? And so that's exactly. But when I was a kid, you opened a bank account, they give you a toaster. Maybe because they were going to burn you. I don't know how that worked. But in this case, they give you a sucker. And so I just started saying, one of the things that changed my life, what I said is, you know what? If the bank can go out and earn better interest rates, and they can get higher interest on their money, I'm going to start doing that with my money. I'm going to figure out how that works. And I'm going to start making this rule work for me instead of having this rule work against me. Because every time I went in a bank, it was marble floors, granite countertops, always smelled nice. It's like 65 degrees in there. They never had air-conditioned bills, no problems paying their bills, right? It's because the bank makes a lot of money. And if you work for a bank, I'm not bashing a bank. We need banks, okay? But the rule is really crazy. Check this out. There are $13.8 trillion in accounts less than 1% in America. What that tells me is we're not educated in this country. We blindly put money in a savings account because we believe, air quotes, it's safe. Because you can't lose anything. Well, guess what? Inflation in America is running about 3.5%. So you're losing about 3.4% per year on your money. That means every year milk costs 3.4% more, right? Tires, 3.4% more, right? Pizzas, same thing, right? All that good stuff. So you need to start learning how this rule works and put it into place in your life. So I'm going to talk to you real quick about the 3 different areas that you can save money in. There are 3 different categories. We call them tax now, meaning as you save money and the money earns interest, you must pay taxes as it earns, okay? Then there's tax later. This is things like you put money in and you pay taxes after you take it out, later, okay? And then there's tax never, meaning you pay the taxes up front, but then when you invest it, you never pay taxes. Doesn't that sound nice? Never pay taxes. That sounds great, right? There's a few catches though. We're going to talk about that. So the first thing that comes to your mind is, okay, savings accounts. That's what most people put their money in. And by the way, at the end of the year, do you get a little 1099 at the end of the year saying you made 23 cents and you got to claim it on your taxes? Or whatever it is you made, right? Isn't it funny they wasted the paper? It costs more than what you made, right, to print that thing and send it to you. The stamp is like 60 cents or something like that now, and I only made like 23 cents. You could have just kept it and just told me over the phone and saved yourself 60 cents. Okay, the other thing is, these are kind of small. We just went over the rule of 72, right? And so I just took, this is what changed my life, by the way. The man who was doing this class, he did it with $1, or with a zero. He said, look, does anybody have a newborn baby? And we did. We did. And so he said, if you saved $100 for that baby, you know that baby would have $3,200 at age 60 at a 6% interest rate. And I was pretty impressed. And then he said, but if you take that same $100, not every month, not every year, just one time, and you saved it for that baby at 12%, that baby would have $104,000 at the end, approximately. Blew my mind. So it started on me on the path of thinking, man, I wish my parents would have saved $100 for me, right? Or a couple $100, right? And so now that we know that rule, at 0.5%, money's gonna double every 144 years. Not a place that you wanna invest and save and for your future. Do we agree on that? Yeah, okay. It's class participation. There's no wrong answers, except for sometimes I'll yell at you. But, all right, CDs, right? That's again, not very much. Money market accounts, same thing. Bonds, you can go and buy bonds, government bonds, treasury bills, things like that. Again, very low interest rates. Stocks, a lot of people say, I'm gonna buy some stocks, right? But stocks are the proverbial putting all your eggs in one basket, right? If you buy a stock and that company goes out of business, what happens to your money? It's gone. It's see you later, gone, right? I just bought some medical marijuana stock a couple years ago, right? You laughing, it's good, goodbye, man. People are gonna get high out there, you know? I'm not, but I mean other people are, so, you know. I looked at it and I thought, you know what? There's a lot of uses for medical marijuana. It's coming on the ballot. It's doing a lot of things. And so I personally, this is not a solicitation, I'm not telling you what to do, but I personally said, you know, I'll buy. So I bought like $1,000 in one company. I got a little thing in the mail the other day. Guess what? Company went bankrupt. I lost my $1,000. But I was willing to lose it because it's more like, you know, kind of like a Vegas thing. Or I'm having some fun with the money. But if it was my retirement, I wouldn't take any chances with that. Because I don't want a company, I don't want my money tied to a company. You guys remember Enron? You remember Enron? You realize Enron was one of those companies that was too big to fail. It was so huge. But what happened? What took down Enron? Were they a bad company? Were they doing bad work? No. What happened was their CEO was embezzling money and doing lots of unscrupulous things and cheating on his wife and spending money in all kinds of other areas, and he got caught and it took the whole company down. So one person's bad decisions cost millions of people their retirement. So I'm not a big stock guy. If you want to buy stock, go for it, but you got to be willing to lose it, okay? Mutual funds. A lot of people say, well, you know, I'll just get some mutual funds. Here's some positives of a mutual fund. It's liquid. If you need it, you can get to it. And a lot of times people say, well, I need to have my money accessible to me. That's why I keep it in a savings account. I would submit to you that most people don't have a savings account. What they have is a put and take account. They put it in, take it out. Put it in, take it out. It's not saved for anything. They just put it in, take it out. Would you guys agree? Yes. Right. I know none of you guys have ever had that. I know, because you guys are good students, right? But somebody out there has had that. So it's liquid. That's an important thing, right? Because people want to use it for something. It's diversified. It's not just one stock. It may be thousands of different things inside of that fund. So if the fund goes, if one thing goes up and one thing goes down, it doesn't kill you, okay? So it's diversified. But there are some negatives associated with it. And the negatives are taxes. Here's the deal. When you earn your dollar bill, when you make your dollar, wherever it is you work, they tax you, right? As far as I know. I mean, most of the time, they don't even give you a chance. They don't give you all the money and say, hey, Grace, you need to go downtown and you need to pay your taxes. They say, hey, Grace, good news. We took all your taxes out first. Here's what's left over, right? It's messed up, but that's what they do. When you earn money in that account, that's called dividends. And so you get charged taxes on those dividends. That's the 1099s that you get at the end of the year, right? And then when you utilize it, in some cases you might get capital gains tax, meaning you have another 15% on top of all that other stuff because it was set up for an investment purpose and you got to pay tax 3 separate times. So what happens is you want your money moving forward like going crazy to your destination, which is financially independent, right? But what happens is your money gets moving, it's all excited, it's going real fast. Uncle Sam reaches in, grabs it by the collar, and whoop, 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 back up. Can't go that fast, slow down. You owe me some taxes. Oh, one more, slow down again, you owe me some taxes. What that means is you really can't get your money working for you at a fast enough pace for you to be able to retire. Wealthy people, and you can look this up, wealthy people, I'm talking like stone cold wealthy people, right? And a lot of times when I mention that, people get mad, they say, oh, I don't like rich people. Well, if you were rich, you'd like yourself, right? But most people just don't like rich people because they're not rich, right? And so when I grew up, I looked at rich people and I said, oh man, rich people, man, they just get everything. I didn't really understand that most people in America, 99% of them, started with nothing. Built something, built a business, made themselves wealthy, got educated, took some risks, failed, got back up again, dust themselves off and tried it again. I didn't realize that. And so what I do know about wealthy people is they don't pay more than their fair share of taxes. They pay just enough. There are 2 tax systems in America, one for the informed, one for the uninformed. If you are uninformed, you will pay more taxes. If you were informed, you will pay less, okay? So here's the deal. They don't put money in places that don't offer them tax incentives or tax breaks. So let's take a look at the next thing, tax later. That's like a 401k. You may have heard of a 401k? Yeah, it's the IRS code. You may wonder why they call it that. Because IRS taxes have codes, right? Like a 529 code, that's a kid's college fund. 7702, that's an index universal life, right? 457, that's like a public servant retirement account, right? Like a firefighter or something. 401k, that's what most people are used to, okay? There's a 403b. There's traditional IRAs, SEP IRAs. These are things for people who are like self-employed, right? Annuities are in this thing. 529s. So let's talk a little bit, that's the majority of them. Let's talk a little bit about the positives of those things. Well, first positive is the money grows tax deferred. So you put the money in, and as it grows, you never pay tax. Sounds good, right? Right. Hey, if you have a place that you work at and they match, they're giving you free money. So that's pretty cool too. $56,000 a year is the most you can put in some of these vehicles, right? That's a big deal. People say, well, you know, I don't have $56,000 to put in there. But you may, at one point, you may sell a home, you may do whatever, you may have some money. And where do you go with it? Because other things that are tax-free, for example, or tax-never, they have limits on how much you can put in. This really, it has a limit, 56,000, but that's a lot. I mean, that's almost $5,000 a month. You know, it's a lot of money. And there's no income limits. That's why the janitor at IBM can invest in a 401k, just like the CEO at IBM can invest in a 401k. So everybody can use this vehicle. There are certain vehicles, by the way, that not everyone can use, okay? But this one everyone can use. So let's take a look at the negatives. I use the word seed as a negative, and what I'm going to try to explain to you here is, if we were going to go, what's your first name? You can pick somebody. I don't know. What's your first name?
Arlene.
Arlene?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Arlene. So if we were going to start a farm and we were going to grow corn seed, what kind of car do you drive, Arlene?
Infinity.
An Infinity. Okay. So we're going to use your Infinity and we're going to go down to the feed store and we're going to buy corn seed. I don't know how much corn we can get in your Infinity, but it's not that much, right? Well, let's say we can get 5 or 6 bags of corn seed in your Infinity. And then we go and then we plant all that corn seed. Well, corn seed's really small, right? It's very tiny. But if we plant it and we water it and we take care of it, when it comes time to harvest that, we cannot use your Infinity anymore, right? We've got to start having pickup trucks or even semis, right? Because for every seed, up grows the stalk, and you've ever seen corn, right? Corn's got 3, 4 pieces of ears on each stalk. So the seed is small, but the crop is really big. Let me give you a newsflash. The United States government doesn't do anything for your benefit. I was in the Army for 12 years, 10 years. They don't do anything unless it's for their own benefit. I love this country, but trust me, they're going to take care of them. And here's the deal. They tell you, don't pay taxes right now. Just pay it later. Well, that sounds weird because I'm going to have a lot more money later than when I started.